And so there it is, the three taps, the three gongs, the three bells. We will begin our June 5th regular business meeting. We will start it at 5:06. Yes, we will. If I could have everyone turn your phones to vibrate or silence or whatever you like, just because. And we will start off with the town of Diamond Valley acknowledges the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy members, Siksika, Kainai, and Kainai First Nations, the Stoney Nakoda, Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Wesley First Nations, the Dene Tsuut'ina First Nations, and the Métis Region 3, and all those that make Treaty 7 land their homes. All righty, so, council, in front of you, you have the consent agenda. Now, if there is anything on that consent agenda that you would like to speak to, about, or discuss, all you have to do is flag it now, and we will move it into an action item on the regular agenda. If you do not, and you agree with everything on that consent agenda, then I would just simply take a motion. Jonathan gives me that in the split second race with Brendan. Good job. So we have a motion on the floor. Anybody want to move anything from the consent agenda?
I don't know that this needs a motion, but regarding 2.1.e correspondence from the Mackenzies. As administration responded to that, because that notice of motion was withdrawn at the last meeting. So I just a question.
Thanks, your worship. No, we have not. The letter came in before that
Yeah,
meeting.
that agenda, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just
We can just close it for him.
yeah, just
Good
a response that notice of motion was withdrawn.
Excellent. All right, that being said, motion on the floor, all in favor? And that is carried, thank you. We will now turn to our regular agenda. And I will get an adoption of that agenda. If there are no additions, Hazel, give me the motion. All in favor? That is carried. And we will now take a motion to go into closed, please. Brendan gives me that at 5:08. And all in favor? Thank you. And that is carried. And all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending tonight. We are going to reconvene. It is 6:31. We started this evening's meeting at 5:05. We went into in-camera session at 5:06. We came out of that at 6:14. And we have some motions arising from those discussions. We were in closed session for sections, 16.1, 24.1A, 21.4, 24.1C, and 25.1C. And so we have some motions up here. Mr. Kenley, you just keep writing, don't worry about it. You got lots of stuff. Can I get a motion, please, for what we have up here? Jonathan.
Yeah, I'll give us motion number 1, that we initiate the redesignation process of lots 4 through 5, lot 3, and 805 Kilo, being the former Turner Valley Municipal Office site to residential multi-unit district R3.
Excellent, thank you. Is that perfectly clear, Carrie? All good on that? Perfect. Council, any discussion on that? No. All in favor? That's carried, thank you. I will also note that Councillor Brendan Kelly was here earlier and had to leave for family matters. So we wish him all the best this evening and health. So moving on. Thank you. Number 2.
To acquire a market assessment of the site once redesignation has occurred.
Thank you. All in favor? Cindy?
To include must apply for a development permit within 6 months of the 18 months clause in sales contract.
Thank you. Any discussion? Buyback? That would be part of the sales contract if we.
Yeah, worship us. Yeah.
Yeah. it's a permanent structure is the town buyback clause now, as far as I understand. Maybe just make sure. Okay. All right, good catch, though. Good question asked.
I think that in the motion, actually.
Yeah.
I think that's a good.
Sure.
amendment there.
Yeah.
Okay, friendly
With the
amendment
opportunity to read
to include buyback clause.
at the negotiated sale price. That's what we did with prior town land.
Yeah. Yeah, let's put it in motion, sure.
At the negotiated original sale price.
Original being the operative word. John Waring taught us that one. Perfect. All in favor? Yeah, thank you.
That's Councilor Hall.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, number 4.
That council agreed to sell the existing ATCO structure serving as the current council chambers at 514 Windsor Avenue on a timeline sufficient to find a suitable temporary council chamber.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And number 5, Heather. Hey, either one.
Council Director Administration to respond to the interested party that the undeveloped road east of block 24, block 5, plan 1013093 and west of block.
No, this is a different one. This is goes to the gallery,
Yeah,
but this is. our-
It's motions and
It's just motions arising, so it's just down the food chain.
of block 6 PUL plan 9910437 will not be sold as it is currently being utilized for municipal purposes.
Perfect, thank you. Any discussion?
And just to clarify, the municipal purposes are a water main and a sewer main
Thank you.
running through the property.
Excellent. All right, all in favor? That is carried, thank you. All right, those were motions arising from closed session. We now move on to 5.1 question period. So question period is a 15-minute section of time that we allot in the council meeting for questions from the public. To ask questions of administration or council or general inquiry, anything goes. You can phone, text, talk to a counselor, write it down on these lovely pieces of paper that I pointed out earlier. And we will read those out and get you responses tonight. If the item is on the agenda that the question is asked about, we do not speak to those questions until that time on the agenda. So for tonight, for example, we have some questions for Ranahan. We have a delegation, then we can address some of those questions through council and not through the public. So we will take those. First off, we have Mr. Glenn Fagan. Restoration of the railing at the Willowbridge Trail access. When is this scheduled to be done? Question mark. Mr. Davey.
Thank you, worship. I'll call upon Mr. Beaton to answer that one.
Thank you, Mr. Beaton. Public Works.
Through the chair, it's on our action list. It is scheduled at the convenience of our parks crew when they have time, once they get caught up with their current.
Okay, thank you. Any guesstimates?
Later this month.
Okay, excellent, thank you. All right, Mr. Campbell. Questions? I believe you have some.
I have some questions for,
Yep, so you can sit right here and hit that button and you'll direct those questions. Yep. That's what I'm saying. So Mr. Campbell,
Ranahan present.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
As I directed earlier, you'll address your questions to council
Yes.
and then you'll give me that sheet.
Okay,
And then we're gonna have a delegation. And then I can, on your behalf, ask some follow-up questions using that piece of paper. So this is not an opportunity for you to ask direct questions of Branahan, it is to council and to us.
well,
Hit that button and you can just fire those questions straight at us. Away we go.
honestly, I wish I had the opportunity to ask Ranahan directly and engage in the conversation of some sort, but that's not possible. So
Thank you.
I do have some questions. Just prior to that, I would say that I was quite upset and surprised that this proposal was being made to manufacture benzene at the gas plant. I have questions about the gas plant anyway, operating in such a small community. But my first question is, why is Ranahan and or Crescent Energy not containing the gas that's being emitted from the flare and using it for heating purposes and creating electricity? The toxins that are going into the air presently, I think it's mainly consists of methane, which is 88 times the toxicity of carbon. So that's one question. My second question is, has Ranahan considered using a compressor, oxidizer, or incinerator to rid the gas of its toxic elements? These technologies are being used at other gas flares. I realize there's some expense involved, but I guess my secondary question would be, at the risk of the health of the citizens of Turner Valley, perhaps the expense is legitimately required. Thirdly, given the harmful effects of inhaling benzene, why wasn't the whole citizenry of Turner Valley notified of Ranahan's intentions? I realize that there is a so-called critical area of interest from the pipe that's emitted with gas. But surely with a change of wind or a change of anything, it could affect possibly the whole town, especially perhaps in emergency situations. So I'm curious as to why the whole town wasn't noted over just a select few, probably up on the golf course bridge. And I guess my fourth question is a little bit more on the personal front. It is for Ranahan. Would the Ranahan officials here today be comfortable with a gas plant flare emitting toxic substances such as benzene, which is a known carcinogenic, close to their residences and loved ones?
Just the four,
Pardon me?
just the four questions.
Yeah,
Perfect.
if there were a conversation and a back and forth, of course, more things would come out, but I don't have that possibility.
Council might do that on your behalf.
Okay.
So I'll read those exact. That's just, so I'll take those. And as protocol is, anything that is on the agenda, council cannot speak to questions that are on the agenda, thus we'll have our delegate, and then I can ask some of these questions on behalf of our residents. And that is the process we follow. So, Ranahan, that being said, we have no further questions, correct? That's email, nothing else. Okay, perfect. So we're going to move on to our delegations. So Ranahan Resources Limited, thank you for coming this evening. It's fantastic. Who wants to take a seat up here? You can just drag an extra chair. Yeah, perfect. And whoever wants to speak, the red light is on. You should be able to hear her, no problem. And I'm just going to say welcome to the community, and I'm going to hand it over to you guys. You can run through the presentation, and then we'll have some questions and some conversation. Great. Excellent. I'm Mayor Barry Crane, and you can see our council, so please introduce yourselves and then proceed.
Okay. I'm Ron Newman, President and CEO of Ranahan Resources. On my left is Todd Torrance, our Superintendent, Turner Valley. Ben Dennincourt is our CEO. As many of you know, we recently bought all the Crescent Point assets from Township 30 to the US border, and from Saskatchewan border to the Rockies. We are here today to answer some of the questions various residents have asked, like who the hell is Ranahan? Really though, I'll turn it over to Todd and to Brent. But after the meeting, if anybody has any questions, I'd be pleased to stick around and have a chat.
Thank you so much. Brent, start first. Sure, go ahead.
You don't change chairs.
Just wait, and it's good.
And we want to change slides to the. So, yeah, Brett Knopper, I'm the chief operating officer. So we want to thank you for town council for inviting us and being able to engage residents. So, as we heard, yes, we're new in the area and also getting the opportunity as new neighbors to have that conversation. The picture you see there actually is a Commonwealth tree, which is just going off. We're all to the mine. It's a beautiful area. I know it's a true privilege to be a part of the Turner Valley field. I know for myself personally, the area certainly. Next slide, yeah. So this slide very simply is two part of the presentation. We understand we have 15 minutes. But what we'd like to do is just give a brief introduction right hand. And then second part of it is to talk specifically about the gasket hydrator. So that's just located just not time for some. And the next slide, please. So I won't be reading that, but certainly that you will. So in the back, if I may introduce my peers. So we've got Boyd Westward. He is our financial controller for our company. Gail McDonald is our VP of facilities engineering. John Kendrick is our VP of operations and also presents our health, safety, environment regulatory group as well. And you've just been introduced to the three of us. Our field office is just here 6 miles east of Concrete Road. I think everybody's familiar. And in that group, we've got 9 folks to manage those current assets that we have. And again, it's just this complementary information that's up on the screen. The assets are complemented by our Calgary group. We have 11 folks, including this group here, which is almost 30% of the organization. And complement that with finance, accounting, production, engineering, and finance. And again, like I said, Brian had he considered us a privilege to be such an operator of such a historic part of our province. And certainly our industry can take that very, very seriously. We all enjoy the area, whether it's golfing up on the hill or hitting the chuck wagon or going up to sending the dad. And I've got horses just north of town here, so here, but as many of the folks here. Slide for me. So this slide's going to get a little bit more into the approach and the acquisition of the asset. Ron and myself have spent about 2 years, a little over 2 years, working on acquiring the asset from Crescent Point. We signed a letter of intent April 2023 and ready to close on January 26th, 2024. Process is very involved. It's changed a lot with the AER, the Alberta Energy Regulator, since the hearings have been required in 2021. And I feel that we feel right now that's the best case. So we take a look at there. You'll see a couple of things in the slide. One that talks about Directive 67 and the other one is Directive 88. So in the oil and gas industry, we're held by many bodies. We'll get into that second. But the first off is Directive 67. It's an eligibility of hold acquired energy license. It's very, very detailed, and Ron and I can go on as about the stars from that process. It's and I like it. They've changed a great deal and for the better. And what that is they want to know and they look at who is buying the asset. In our particular case, we're an Alberta registered company, from New Calgary. We are Alberta residences, and the AER takes a great energy to reward that ability to hold a license. It's quite a complex process. It took many months in that front, and we were successful in holding that directive for the eligibility to hold or acquire, which is Directive 67. Then we get into Directive 88. And 88 is much more detailed. So now that you've acquired a license, we have. Now it's the ability, sorry, I guess press yourself right now that I have all this sort of looking around.
Look around, screen.
Is Directive 88. And they call it lifecycle management. And the reason that Ron and I look at this asset, it is its longevity. It's got a very, very long life cycle, very low decline rates. And with that is the AER has a very holistic approach. It isn't like the old days where you could go and buy the, which is you pick up truck to make a deal. Now you actually make the deal through the AER. They're the broker. So the seller and the buyer into that process in the AER facilitates that transfer. And I can say that we're one of the, you were successful in that position. Transfer was here today. One of the things the director of the AER told us was he said, I don't want to hear what your deal, I don't want to care how much you paid for it. I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here is I'm here to protect the Alberta taxpayer and the interest of the stakeholders in the area or that would be involved. And I said, that's my job. So whatever deal you did, you may end up walking away from it because if I don't transfer it, you won't get it. So we went through that many meetings, Ron, with Crescent Point and the AER in their office. And they facilitated that conversation and that transfer of information. And there was a magnitude of information in that transfer process. So in that, we were granted Directive 88. And we were able to proceed with the acquisition. So very different from what it was prior to 2021 crowds in Alberta, was they didn't take that approach. So it's I can also say they know everything about me and Ron, right up to my passport number, driver's license, what other personal information. It was pretty much everything we had to give. And what I maybe should have described, both Ron and I are owners of the company, or officers and directors. We're equal partners in this acquisition. Next slide. So this little more, say a little bit about a statement, but it was really what we wanted to see when we were starting this company, take a look at the values. I think I heard a question earlier that's actually around that. So the first one that we talked about was people first. We hear that a lot, but if it wasn't for the people in the communities, the areas, and the team ourselves, it'd be pretty hard for our business. You need folks to be able to do that. Strong culture around safety. I've been doing this for 46 years in operations. I've had the opportunity to work a lot of various places in Alberta, the US, and foreign. And each and every day, that's the one thing you never want to hear or be a part of is somebody gets hurt. You do everything you possibly can to prevent that. The environment. I know there's some people sitting at this table, one of my peers behind me. It's a privilege and it's a social responsibility to operate. So when you're in this business, you're out for the environment. We're stewards of the land, air, and water. And we work within those regulatory bodies. That current body that does all that, Province Alberta, is the AER, Alberta Energy Regulator, manages and controls and directs 100% of that. So our job, our responsibility is to adhere to those guidelines and directives. We talk about work ethic and cowboy, we pick that up in the name, but you're accountable and you're responsible for our actions. And the stronger your work ethic, better the result. Doing that with some integrity is the utmost concern to me, to us, and have some values and some pride in the work that we do. We talk a bit about team here as well. I say you can't really do much by yourself. It takes a lot of people to do that. Not only ourselves here tonight, people that we have out in the field, but also the vendors, the suppliers, and stakeholders that we use each and every day. Family. We're all here, we all have family. At the end of the day, and if our lives goes, you come in with it, you go out with it. That's you need that work-life balance. We can't lose that. That focus. So it's interesting. We were just recently going over vision and mission statements for the company. We're doing that today in some context. And we talked a bit about this, and we talked about family. What we specifically wrote, I'm going to read it, is we want to be a family-oriented leader in junior oil and gas sector, dedicated to responsible optimization of current resources across current community prosperity. And that was something we came up with, we developed and we talked amongst ourselves here for some time on that. And for some of the roads that we know that they first heard that, we can train on it. So if we could go to the next slide. Yeah, no, ADR, yeah, no, do a slide, yeah. So we talked a little bit about us, okay, you know, certainly some comments. This one is governance. So when we talk about the bodies, the governing bodies that we report to, there's several. So the Alberta Energy Regulator. The Alberta Energy Regulator, I don't know if anybody's aware of this, was actually formed because of this oil field in the 1930s. The AER, the fundamentals was around measurement. That was its first and foremost focus. So the province of Alberta through municipalities. It then merged with the environment side of the business, and was created a little later. And of course, now those are amalgamated. So the AER has a massive stick, we'll say. And they really work around measurement, air release, water usage, land, pipeline management, operations, production directives. There are many of those directives. Hold yourselves accountable and responsible to. We move over to APSA, the Alberta Borders Branch, Alberta Safety. I'm first class steam ticket holder, take pride in that. Did that most of my career, and I was also a vessel inspector. But the other jurisdictions is pressure vessels. So as much as you see down at the museum, pressure vessels and pressure safety devices are regulated under the Alberta Boilers Branch, and we're obligated to impose directives and guidelines and basin. Beginning with OSHA, Occupational Health and Safety, we're covered under that body. Oil and Gas Conservation Act, covered under that body, and we're also covered under PEGNET, which is our standards and guidelines for construction and operation of assets, and that's through the engineers. One that we talk about, look a little bit about us, and then we'll buy it, or what's really your vision for the asset. Our vision is long term; it's not short term. I know a lot of people who hear that many times, integrated, come in, they want to fresh up an asset, turn it over and make some money. I actually like the area. I've been in the area since 2012, which is very short period of time in this area. But we have a long-term vision, and investors have a long-term share of that same vision with us. And that's very important. Beautiful area. As I said, low declines, so that's an attractive part of the asset. And it has a diversified base. So they're actually one third oil, 1/3 natural gas, and 1/3 propane, butane, and condensates. So we have that balance. And what we also wanted to do, we recognize that we're going to be doing is bringing in some new technology techniques to enhance the asset. There's been lots of orders through the years. You all know all of those years. I can say since the 26th of January, we've been able to add almost 10% of production in that period of time. So we're pretty pleased with that, and done it safely, environmentally responsible as well. One of the areas in the community being part of this meeting, we appreciate the invitation. But it means a lot. I had this conversation with Todd, and Todd's probably hopefully says yes, but it was, I said, where's your services? He goes, local. Right on. That's the answer I wanted to hear. So we're very proud of Dogs and High River here. It's Black Diamond, local. It means a lot. I met Ewan when he drives off the hill to go and do safety on our service rigs. BW, is it BW Anderson? B&B Anderson. I think I had a great conversation with him. I think his dad had the truck for a while and now he has the truck here. And so it's pretty amazing. So it's being part of the community as well. For instance, we've got an investment strategy, a donation strategy. And want to be part of building the community or helping the communities along the way, but also celebrating being a part of parades. Actually, I had the one there last week. What's that?
You just missed them.
I was in it for a different reason, but I wrote it that then I parade there on Saturday. So that's, the area that we consider ourselves, what King being is from here to Columbia. That's us, right? Our assets from here. So that's hopefully a feel of who Ranahan is. Certainly understand that this questions asked here a little bit later. Then I'm going to turn it over to Todd, and then Todd could talk specifically about the gas dehydrator.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks for having us tonight, Your Worship. Nice to be able to come and give our story. I'm going to, that is a picture of the dehydrator. So the natural gas dehydrator was installed in July of 2019 by the former company, Crescent Energy, which I was a part of that company.
Excellent.
Yeah, but yeah, I was just sure the eggs. We've heard what's the AER for energy regulators. It's basically how they run our business through their directives. They have numerous different directives. So a natural gas dehydrator is regulated under the Directive 39. So that's how we operate the facility. So the AER requires a DOS sheet. So that's a dehydration engineering and operations sheet that we have to do by a third-party engineering company once a year. So we just completed that now for 2024. And we have to provide an inventory of all glycol dehydrators that we have. We only have one. So as I stated, Crescent Point installed up to the date dehydrator in July 2019, and it has been operational since then with no changes to the operation. So part of Ranahan's obligation for the licensing change from Crescent Point to Ranahan, we had to do the certification, and that was directed. So they were directed to do a notification within 750 meter radius of the dehydrator. So that's where that regulation came from, and that's the obligation that we met. Next slide, please. So I'll just give a quick one on a dehydrator. So it's basically exactly what it says: dehydration. It's to prevent the formation of hydrates, which is sort of a freezing engineering term for freezing in a pipeline. And it also helps with condensation. So we have a specification for our product that we sent from Turner Valley compressor station, and it goes about 25 kilometers to the northwest, and ties into it's called Paraday, and it goes to the jumping pump gas plant, which is west of Concord. So it makes it has a path, but life cycle starts, by Longview and works in very north and something. So anyways, as part of the specifications of the pipeline, we have to provide a product that has less than 4 pounds of water per million standard cubic feet of gas. So at this current stage, we operated well below, we're at 0.31 pounds per million of water content in the gas. So the dehydrator is very efficient, works very well. It's basically state of the art. And the other important part of having a product that has specifications is it's the pipeline integrity. which is a huge part of the whole system. So we have to maintain a certain degree of integrity in the pipeline. Taking water out, obviously, helps them. Next slide. So part of the EOS sheet that we do calculates the benzene emissions that are being supplied by the editor. So we currently run 1/5 of the maximum allowed. So at the top, you can see we're allowed to produce no more than 1.0 tons per year. Our current volume accumulative over the year is 0.21 tons per year. So we're 1/5 or under 1/5 of what we are allowed to produce as per the AER Directive 39. So again, that's a cumulative. So it's the slide, picture speaks about some words. So that's what the slide shows. Next slide, please. So with, and with the question doctor, which is great. What we'd like to share with anybody, this is an open, people will see this. They can reach out to the AER inquiries at aer.ca. They can hold them. And then you can also look at the benzene Directive 39 at the aer.ca and do research. You can ask questions, you can do all that sort of stuff. So that's all I have. I'm probably getting close to 15 minutes. I appreciate the opportunity and
It's all good. Let us go to council for questions. Most people make the 15 minutes. Sometimes we let it go, sometimes we don't, but at least you acknowledged the 15 minutes. Some people go on for 40 minutes, it's like, my eyeballs, please help me now.
Yeah.
Well done.
It has good coaching.
There you go. He's got a whip underneath. Okay, I know Councilor Gordon had some, but let's go to Heather first, ladies first. So Heather, you go ahead, and you obviously heard the question, so I'm gonna ask you, and John has you as well. And so Heather, go ahead.
Thank you for coming. President Point did a really great job of cleaning up the field. So how much more work is anticipated in that? And will this continue with rehab, cleanup of the field here? I think they pretty much got most of it done, but I'm not 100% sure. And my other question would be, are any of the operations that Ray has taken over brand new, or are they just continued from Crescent Point?
well, I was with Crescent Point prior to this for 10 years. Something like that. So this year, our current budget, then just waiting for it to be approved. We have a rec grant. It's like $550,000 for this year. So there is ongoing every year. We have an obligation through part of it is the ARO's asset retirement obligation through the province. So we have to meet those standards. Just to give you a real quick high level, last year and everyone's very familiar with small space in Longview, Crescent Point did a major rec ram of the campground in Longview. They spent $1.5 million. They hauled out 20,000 tons of contaminated soil and replaced that. Along with doing that, they at the time the town wanted new water sewer put in and electricity. So that was all done in conjunction with the project that Chris went through. So that's a good story. And Branham obviously do that stuff going forward. This year we have numerous, I think there's maybe a dozen small little jobs that we're going to do, and then which adds up to around $550,000. So it's a definite, this has been here, much life has been here a long time. Every company keeps working at cleaning things up more and more every year. To go to the D-High, that was actually, they had an old D-High there, it was outdated. The predecessors that was taken out and the new one installed. So you know, that's an improvement also, right? So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I love the lingo. We're all down to P high now.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
No, we certainly, that's a great question, Heather, on the remediation and keeping ongoing cleanliness of the park forefront. So thank you for that. I'm going to go to Councillor Gordon, and then I'm going to go to Sue.
Yeah, thanks so much for accepting our invitation, bringing this forward. My concerns at the time and why I wanted you guys to come was around the benzene. So from what I'm understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a byproduct of the dehydration, correct? Correct. So a couple of questions regarding that directive. Why the mention number 750? I mean, we've got a carcinogen being released. We've got other Alberta energy regulators, you know, talking about our West End, our water treatment center. Not the intake of water, but our wastewater treatment center. Nobody can live within 350 meters of that, but benzene, much more harmful byproduct, carcinogenic and so on. And what's mentioned over 750? That's my first concern.
I got a good voice at the beginning. So exactly, so AER directive is with 1 ton, that's the 1 ton per year, that's the emission. They set that target at the 750. How did they get to that set? You do not know. I do not know how they got to that. Now, what we do know, there's another question to ask, is there's two points of emission that we manage. One, you see a flare stack, and the other one, people don't recognize what it is. It's called an incinerator. And that varies at what temperature? 950. See, yeah, it's very rich. And you know, it's a cold volcano, and that's where the emissions from there go into that incinerator combustion. So 95% of all effluent is at that temperature. So the AER with the secondary controls that we have in place for at the University of the AER, they set that 750, so that's going to have a discussion.
Okay, so just point of clarification, I'd love to learn. So the glycol dehydrator, the benzene is a byproduct of that. Are you saying then that on site it's burned to further reduce so burning creates smoke, creates a vapor. Does that benzene then vaporize and have a potential to form a cluster that potentially could cause harmful side effects?
No, it's actually the other way around. It's actually being combusted. Okay, so the effluent from that incinerator is back to the point 2.1.
And that reduces it down.
That reduces it essentially. Yes. Thank you.
Cindy, and then I'll go.
Yeah, so with your emissions being at the 0.21, you go up to 1, does that mean that conceivably you have room to scale up operations or increase what you're doing, or any plans to be doing more?
Well, so our limit is 1.0. We are currently over the year, the total will be 2.1. So basically per month, we're 0.017. And if we get that chart back up there, so that's actually over the year. So we're per month, 0.178, whatever, 21 to 0.2. Anyways, and that's at our current gas rate. So we're running at 210, 215 E3, M3. And you know, historically, that number has really stayed fairly flat for many years. We'd have to probably do some pretty heavy development to increase our gas volume leaving here, which I'll say that would never happen, but it's that number probably won't change for quite some time. So don't things are on the gas side are going to stay pretty flat. We're targeting our oil. So Brent said we've increased our production by 10% of the month, which are basically oil production.
So we got another thing. So the answer is no. Very quick. It is So we are regulated and under the AER, they don't want to let the fox in with the chickens, right? So the obligation of accept this is when you do a DOS, and that's what John just referred to earlier, is that's going to buy a third party insurance. Right, so when they'll do those calculations, they'll see the throughput, they'll say, okay, if it increased, then it's going to be X amount of tonnage release and cumulative on a year scale. The AER is going to come in and okay, with the threshold for this, it's this, and then we would be operating that within the guidelines. So in this particular case, I've been looking at the production of that vessel since 2012. I can share with you, and it hasn't changed since 2012. And we have no plans to increase the gas through that.
That's a good answer. All right, excellent. Okay, I'm gonna go through Mr. David Campbell's questions here for you. So one, Ranahan or Crescent, not containing gas and using it for heating purposes. Or why is Ranahan and or Crescent Point not containing the gases and using it for heating purposes and creating electricity? So,
Well, we are containing all the gas that is being produced in the field. It's being captured, contained, and sent to the jumping gas manifold process. The only, so the product off the dehydrator is what's being sent to an incinerator. That's an engineered way to deal with that. And as we spoke, we're well below our limits set out by Directive 30. So we are conserving all these gas in the field, pressing it, sending it.
okay. Has Ranahan considered using a compressor, oxidizer, or incinerator? So I think this just answered your question, to reuse the gas and its toxic elements. So I think you've actually answered that.
And maybe one thing I'd like to add, I think people probably see the flare.
That's where it's just going.
And they, okay, that's being burned. Well, that's a pilot. That's actually a safety device. And then we use utility gas. We use active supplied utility gas for that. Same as in your furnace. So it's burning exactly like your furnace. It's a pilot. So if there ever is an incident, the best way to contain the incident for the release would be to flare.
So that's only
Yeah.
flare, then we know, oh,
Yeah, so yeah,
there you go.
I'd say to people, I'd be more concerned if it is the pilot.
Yeah, so.
Yes.
It's exactly like your house. We, as a group, we talked about that. That's what, it's a pilot. We burn right across the road from the site is that meter station, and that's where we get the gas from, right?
Okay, so that is the safety device.
That's a safe.
Visually, you can see this. All right. Number 3, given the harmful effects of inhaling benzene, why hasn't the whole citizenry of Turner Valley been notified by Ranahan Resources and your intentions? And again, AER, what you guys answer that?
That I may jump in again. You're right. That's exactly my point was. So Directive 39 is one time annual lease site. Cumulative is they said 750 a year for conference around that release point. And it's working within that sense.
So if I got a follow up, say if you have 5-ton measurement, like Cindy was saying, bigger operation, 10 times the scale. How big do those diameters go out? Like we're at 750. What's your next level? And then what goes beyond? Like what's your most largest diameter of safety zone, I guess?
Actually, that's a great question. I think I would leave that to the AER maybe answer. We did find it dealt with field, and we're staying within the 1 time of. Good, very good question.
Okay, and last one, would the Ranahan officials here today be comfortable with a gas plant emitting toxic substances close to their residents and homes?
What's that? Want to clarify that the 14.6 asset is a compressor. don't, it's not a designated gas plant, registered as a gas plant or with the AER. So it's a facility. Would Randy have fish to be comfortable with their level is in the immediate area? I've been working around my entire life and I have no problem.
Excellent. Thank you for it.
Randy had business, is that a fair answer?
Yeah, my partner's son is 6 blocks out.
Excellent. More questions.
Mhm.
Veronica, Heather, if you're good, turn off your mic.
Oh, I'd like.
Oh, you got another one?
Yeah.
You talk so much. Veronica.
All right, from where do you get your samples? Is it right at the source, at the exhaust, or do you go out 50 meters? Are there rules? We go all the way to 750, pardon me?
For the DOT sheet,
Yes, for your benzene.
the fence, yes. So it's taken on the inlet and the outlet right at, we went to the picture of the building there, it's basically, we take raw, so before it goes through the, and we take it right after, they compare it, and then that's how they come up with, they come up with the, engineering specs, yes.
So it's an annual gas sample that's being taken.
It's not cumulative throughout the year, it's just a one time, one day.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah, so the one thing with that, and thank you, it's a very good question, is the operation is very, very steady at 220 E3 M3 with fuel. You know, we take a look at compressor reliability, you take a look at that, the throughput through the asset is like water on the plate pretty much. That's a big change.
You know, our natural gas production,
That's
Crescent Point's for the last few years of dead flat, and it will continue to be dead flat.
Excellent. Hazel.
Just a general conversation. We have some residents here that received their letter. So do you know back in 2019 when the dehydrator was installed, did those residents all receive letters about the installation of the dehydrator?
so that, I don't know. Reply to that, I don't know the answer, but it was the AER directed Crescent Point at that time, they didn't need to do door-to-door notification, so they didn't do door-to-door. They put it in, they put posters in the library, posters in the post office,
Just
just around town, and then they put it on the website.
on their own website.
No, on the Turner Valley and Black Diamond website. Because they had two different websites for that. Yep. So, and that was, again,
That was all
Correct.
that was required at that point.
that, yes.
Good questions.
Because I think that's why we have some interest, you know. some-
Yeah, yes, and I think they're, well,
Yeah, it's all good. We're following all the safety protocols and everything that AER is laid out, and that's what's very clear here, and that's what's very good. You know, the fact that you're 400% below the margin that you could reach, if you want to look at it that way. Heather.
I just have to comment on this because like, there's a few of us that have been around here for 50 years plus and,
I'm not gonna lie, 90.
so we've seen the going on down at the plant and that, and in my perspective, it's much more environmentally friendly, has to be. Some of these regulations were absolutely not in place. I can remember as a child, I had one grandparent in Black Diamond and one in Turner Valley, and I absolutely hated coming to Turner Valley because it stunk so bad. Because not only that, they had sulfur stored. So, you know, like I appreciate the work that oil and gas companies are doing and mandated to do and the regulations that are in place now, and hopefully we'll have a great working relationship going forward.
It will.
well, that's,
a relationship.
thanks for those compliments.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Maybe you missed the hot pools.
What's that? Who's on the hat?
The hot pools.
Oh, the hot pools.
Yeah, with the sulfur one.
Our earliest pool.
Yeah, they used to put in cool down by the plant that was
Yeah.
heated by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to go back there.
No,
We're good with the one we got now.
but the pictures are pretty cool.
And it's pretty cool. I've operated a lot of gas plants around the country and massive proportions, and there's some pretty sad stories, unfortunately, back in the day. And I share that same sentiment as you. The ARs picked up the regulations and they, certainly the operators have done that themselves. It's great.
Excellent. Well, Ron, Todd, Brent, thank you so much. Bringing your whole crew here tonight. We appreciate you taking the time. I know if you're running everything from Saskatchewan to Montana and west, you're gonna be hitting a lot of town halls. So thank you for dropping into our newly formed Diamond Valley with the greatest history of oil and gas in Alberta.
Here.
Leduc, right? You got it.
Here.
Like that.
And
So
I'm in the chuck wagon every Saturday, so we'll see you there.
there you go. And by all means, next year, let's get her in the hand and flow through the parade. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for the opportunity.
You betcha.
Shake your hand.
Oh, I always shake it. I love that.
Thank you.
And I live local to Green Island, so.
Oh, I think I met you. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Sally Thompson. Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, right, like, I'm not sure where. So, right.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Hi, everybody.
Very much. Hey, take care, guys. Thanks, guys. Thanks, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Alrighty. Let's get into the fun stuff, shall we? That was excellent, council. So thank you very much. What? It's you?
It's just me.
Oh, that's for last.
Well, you're the brightest.
All right. Here we go. We're moving on the agenda, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna have you hand those over to our CAO as the official record. Where does my agenda go? Here it is 8.1. Bylaw 2024-44. Purpose of this is land use. Adding residential narrow lot R1 and associated regulations and increase in allowable secondary suites. Mr. Davey. And over to you.
Gary.
Gary, it is over to you.
Through the mayor, we added R1N in Black Diamond a couple months ago now. And so this was forthcoming to the Turner Valley side. It was a applicant-driven proposal, which we suspected that there was lots of noise around it. So we appreciate them helping prioritize this in our bucket of work. We took the liberty to add the also long-awaited section on suites so that the last bylaw adopted kind of threw a wrench in things for allowing suites to be a reasonable size. And so the proposal here is replace it with not exceeding 80% of the gross floor area of the existing principal dwelling. And we think that that will reduce a lot of the variances coming forward that have seemed reasonable and have been just getting various acronyms.
I'll take a motion. Mayor.
That council give bylaw 2024-4 for first reading and direct administration to city public hearing for a later date.
Thank you, council. Thoughts? Cindy.
Yeah, but just wondering about the 80%, because that makes it different, or is that returning it? I'm just thinking on like raised stations, 1 stories and like basement suites, but you guys are good with the 80%. To make sense.
I'm recommending 8%. It would still be considered ancillary to a primary dwelling at 8%.
Okay, Hazel?
Just asking for clarification, Carrie. Would it be permissible for a residence on a narrow lot to have a garage with a secondary suite above it as long as it's on a lane parcel?
Okay, so a suite above a detached garage on an R1 and let me just go through laned parcel. Correct?
Yes.
Okay,
6.6.6.
give me 2 moments here. It is discretionary in the district. And each of our bylaws is laid out differently, so sometimes it would be on a lane parcel, and could it conceivably be above a detached garage? Yes.
So here's my second question. Now, how does this bylaw differ from 2024-43 that we recently approved to allow for 2 residents on the same parcel?
So in the Black Diamond land use bylaw, there was a portion of the bylaw that specified that only 1 dwelling unit could be on a parcel. And so that change was made to allow for suites. Where the bylaw conflicted itself. The Turner Valley bylaw doesn't have that same problem.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any further questions? Yeah, just carried it. All in favor? That's good. Set her up. 8.2 bylaw 2024-66, the 2024 tax rates bylaw.
Your worship, I'll turn over to the CFO, Vin and Lisa.
All right. You guys comfortable down there? Or do you want to go here? Up to you. If I can hear you, I'm good. Go ahead. Let's hear you. I can't hear you.
Oh, to Verna, to ask her to please put this slide on.
I set you up perfectly on that one. Okay, go.
Okay, so we had discussed the scenarios. This bylaw is prepared using the 88-12 split, as we discussed. As the RP points out, there's some slight decimal tweaking due to my last minute assessment amendments that I believe I've captured them all and our deadline has passed. So it should be accurate as of tonight. The slide, and I think you've all seen the slide, but it just states that overall, the town will see an increase of 5%, which we kind of expected with the provincial requisitions. The education requisition has gone up 12% from last year, and Westwood's 5%. So just so you're aware, that's what the total tax rates will do overall. It's.
Oh, you can take questions?
I could, yeah.
Sure. Jonathan.
I was just gonna make a comment here to really stress in communications that the increase is due to the provincial education levy and the Westwood and not our property tax increase, please. Make that crystal clear.
So we did communicate that prior to this through the assessment. If you look at the assessment, that communication has been made clear. This chart will be put on our website. I will make sure that these statements are also there. I'm not sure that they are currently, but that provincial requisition has driven the tax rate up.
Heather, go ahead.
I think that in our tax bill, we have received this pie charts.
You do receive, that is correct, just the statement to the top right where I stated that it sees an overall increase of 5%, that doesn't normally go out.
So, like, your worship, we just added that in, so it's clear for folks when they see, budget was 0 last year. Why did this go up? And it's because of the province. So now it's clear when folks see it, it's okay. Provincial requisition on average is added 5%.
Yeah. Just as a problem there. I'm huge on verbiage. And so the way it's written right now, it uses when provincial requisition amounts are included. I would much prefer to have that say due to the provincial requisition amounts requested. That is a much different comment than saying when provincial amounts are included.
So
Because
that
that would still tell, because potentially the way it's written would also say that there's been an increase in property taxes and we've included both of them. So my preference is to have that very clearly state that the overall property tax increase of 5% due to provincial requisition amounts requested. That makes sense?
Yes, I was just gonna say, so when this goes out, the actual insert in with the tax notice, those words will not, or have historically not been included, but on the website, I could have that verbiage there.
Please do. Thank you.
Why don't we include it?
I say you include it too.
Like, to me, this is what I wanna see.
Yeah.
As a resident, I get a letter. I wanna see exactly where my dollars go. Right? Because if not, I'm just for no reason. If I can say, oh, okay. Teachers are getting 12, which they are, but education is. Westwind seniors are getting 5. Good, I like seniors, right? All the town wanted some, pass, right? So I wanna see where my money's going. I wanna see the pie chart. I wanna see as much information as possible in that one leaf. So I would totally support us keeping what we see here with the small change on that letter when it goes to the residents.
Worship, can I just confirm, is the letters already being printed and assembled?
Yes.
They have.
Oh, have they? No,
Yeah,
no.
okay.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I thought you asked me, will they be printed
Yeah.
as a majority are printed,
I
not
saw a small
yet?
vein in the CA.
Yes, no. they have not. They have not.
That would be a tax.
Yeah, no, they have not. So I can make that change.
That would be
If
good.
council.
Council, would you prefer to see where the money is going? Yeah, perfect.
And I like the idea of that,
You do, yeah.
like that statement, that top, I'd like to see it on the
Because we've been very clear that
insert.
we as a council kept the taxes for our ability at 0 for amalgamation. And this is due to forces outside of our control.
Yeah.
And that's just important that we say that. Okay, moving on. Hazel has a question. Hazel, go ahead.
If somebody were to want to now, say, calculate their taxes. So they would take this, 2024 total residential tax rate
Yes,
and times the 5-year assessment notice,
correct.
and that'll give you
Yes.
approximately what you're gonna be paying. Okay, and then, RCMP costs. Do you know how much of those costs are covered by the grant?
Oh, I can answer that.
Oh, Vincent.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Through the chair, so the total budget we did for the RCMP was 340,000.
300.
And yeah, we were supposed to receive 244,000 grant against that. However, in 2024, we hadn't received anything. Also, in 2023, we hadn't received anything.
So we haven't received anything.
Nothing.
Do we expect to receive anything?
When we contacted, there was no answer, but we are following up further with them.
I just jump on to your worship, so provincial grant structures changed. Now it's gonna go all under one grant moving forward now that the population over 5,000. So I don't know what happened in 23 or 24. We'll have to look into that further. But for next year, rather than 2, it's just gonna be one offset grant. Of course, we're gonna be paying 70% of costs for 2025 onwards, where of course, because population under 5,000 before, the province picked up that tab. So next year you'll see a much higher RCMP requisition.
And just one question. What is the opted out school board?
Oh, that is the separate school board.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Cindy.
Yeah, I didn't think that we got any grants under the, for communities under 5,000. I thought it was when we signed this agreement, and then there's also a grant. I didn't think that there were grants. That's just a one-time, we just paid a bill. No, there you go.
That's my understanding as well.
Yeah, so we're gonna clarify. So again, yeah, under 5,000, that's, you already don't pay.
Yeah.
So when you go above 5,000, you pay 70%, but I'm
Yeah,
not sure
we did
if it's something.
budget the grant for 2023 as well as 2020.
So it was in the budget.
It wasn't the budget.
Okay, and we haven't received it yet.
No.
So I need to go for 2023 money. And stick my finger in the eye and saying, I want my 2024 money,
Yeah.
or we're going outside.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to clarify. You might have budgeted for it, but I don't know if this grant actually exists to towns under 5,000.
Over.
Well, as of, but as of 2023, we were over 5,000. So
Correct.
we should have won.
But the town hasn't paid. See, a 2-year buyout, so we amalgamated, so the town does not pay for policing services until April 1st, 2025. You have a 2-year
Grace
no
period.
pay clause, you have a grace period if you will. Okay, so next year we'll get.
So don't threaten taking one of those. Yeah, basically.
But we are paying for policing under the old system right now, right?
A fraction,
Yeah.
like pennies on the
Fraction,
dollars.
yeah.
So we're gonna go from pennies on the dollars, now we're gonna go
Oh,
to quarters on the dollar.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, no, that's clear. Excellent. Grace period is now enjoyed. Okay, Cindy, back to the tax rate.
Do we need to have any communication, because when we switched to an 8812, it is going to increase businesses. You know, quite a bit more than the average house. Does there need to be anything extra on that, or you don't think it's enough that it?
So worship, if council wants communication to go out, we absolutely can, but what the town does differs from, say, the county, for example, is we pass the budget in December, so this is simply just the taxes confirming that, where the county had the budget and taxes all in the same meetings, that's where they put the media release out, so I would recommend the media release goes out as part of the budgeting, unless you want to communicate this out.
I was just thinking more of just a little line somewhere saying that we have adjusted how we are split between residential.
You could certainly add it to our website, but it's kind of over communicate or, yeah, sort of that.
The budget presented pretty clearly at the meetings we've been reviewing.
Well, I'm just looking at some of your sample assessments, you know, some of these
Yeah.
bigger properties, if they've been up a lot, they might have questions. So. And it's easier to sample, so you know, like, we don't have any we don't have averages.
Correct. There are samples that I've pulled, and those scenarios were just dealing with the municipal. The municipal tax rate.
So once you add in the.
So really, your non-residential properties are gonna need the same communication because their provincial requisition amount has also increased.
Right. But in combination with the 8812 split changing
Yes,
things a little bit, there could be, especially somebody, just people just invested in their buildings or whatever, they might be getting a really big one. So I just wonder.
yeah, and do keep in mind their assessments increased significantly less overall than residential. So that split, like they'll see. Won't impact them, like shifting that by 0.5. That's kind of why we thought this would be a good year to do that, because their assessments did not go up the same way residential assessments went up.
That's a good point. Okay,
Is it just another?
just go ahead.
Is it possible, like in the future, like to get like an average house price and an average what their assessment went up? Right, like the scenarios are good, just to kind of give you, but for me, I like the average of everybody.
So are you saying that you would take, so I would take 2023, let's say $400,000 house. Let's say it went up 20%. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, like the whole community, you add up their whole assessments, what the average went up and what the tax
Oh,
rate.
that
will
it's
be.
5%. That average is, and that's what that slide was speaking.
Yeah,
to,
but
that
then
whole-
it down to what the average house price is, so like our middle ground. Cause I know you pull like 200, 300, 400, 580, but what's the average house price? Like where are they in that 220 to 580?
Okay, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Like what, yeah,
And it's just gonna depend. So like so for example, I did the math. So 2023, you'd have a $400,000 house. They would have paid $3,799 in taxes. Let's say they went up 20%, which was our average residential increase. So that's gonna put them at 480 this year. with the current mill rates in this bylaw, that puts their taxes at $4,031. So $230 a year.
That would be.
That's just kind of an average.
The average.
It's pretty close to average. I mean, the reality is that every single property, their assessments vary. So when we're talking, you know, we can talk averages, but every individual property is going to be impacted differently depending on where they fall into that assessment increase. If that makes sense.
Yeah, again, it's just good to know kind of, because averages, most people are gonna lie somewhere close to it, right?
Yeah, and that's why I took that. So if we, you know, if
Yeah.
we take 400,000, then we say the average increase was 20%, and then with this mill rate, and that is including the provincial requisition in that increase.
So the average is, you know, 2%.
Yep, providing they fall within that assessment average of around 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good with everything. Thank you for the great report. I'd like to put, the first reading forward,
Thank you.
if I may. That council give bylaw 2024-66, 2024 tax rate bylaw, first reading.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Further questions? I think we pie chart in one sheeter there that's gonna go out. Add some content to that. Fairly reasonable, I think, considering. So. Going once, going twice, sold, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Can I get another?
Try to get your next one. Council give bylaw 2024-66 its second reading. And if I can add one thing, last year's total residential mill rate was 0.009498. So we have seen that reduction this year, and that's further support to the fact that we were holding property taxes as we originally planned during budget time.
So, thank you. Any further comments? All in favor? Thank you. Happy Thursday is all given.
The council agreed to 2% bylaw 2024-66 for the third reading of this meeting.
Thank you. All in favor? That's carried unanimously as it has to be. And Deputy Mayor.
The council gave bylaw 2024-66, 2024 tax rates bylaw Thursday.
Thank you. Before we vote, I would like to say thank you to staff. Excellent job, excellent clarity. All our questions were answered continuously, meeting after meeting after meeting. So great job. And on paper. And that is carried. That one's off the list, Jim. All right. Moving on the agenda. Bylaw 2024-65 to amend bylaw 2024-62.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'll turn over to Berta for 2 minor amendment suggestions.
Excuse. Red line for us.
It's different.
Stick around.
Yes, so the county folks requested a couple of minor amendments, basically based on changes to their end, so I did not see those coming at me when we reviewed this bylaw together. So I've just presented an amending bylaw and then given you the red line terms of reference so you can see how that will look.
Thank you. All together. Go ahead.
So just a couple of questions for the chair. To the CEO. So this is an amending bylaw, correct? Yes. In the original bylaw, is ICF actually in the definition so that people know what ICF stands for? Because I don't think it's anywhere here. Like we have the IMC acronym, but when we say ICF or IDP, are they actually defined in the original bylaw? ICF, when I see it, I know what it is, but a brilliant guest in the audience may not.
The IDP is defined under 1.0 background context, but I don't see ICF either.
No, or IDP.
Yeah, the
So
IDP
They
is,
should be actually defined somewhere so that I just don't know, because I don't see that. I meant the other one. But we referred to it, so, and in the terms of reference as well.
So through the chair, if I could, I don't believe it's actually in the bylaw itself because it's in the terms of reference with this committee's job. So I don't believe it's actually in the originating bylaw for the definition. And no, I think it was just added by the county in here. So
Yeah, so I think it needs to be clarified what it actually is for anybody that, yeah, because it's a pretty important thing and it's gonna affect our community, and our relationship with the county and our community, so,
would it be satisfactory to just not use the acronyms?
yeah,
Is that sufficient?
I think so.
I
because if I may, in 1.0, the background context has the IDP written out in the.
ICF is not.
But the ICF is not. But it's
anywhere.
my thought that, with that, Alan, what you're saying, if we're gonna put ICF in there and as it is written in section 3, I believe there should be a comment made in the background as to what that is. Not just not just writing it out. Because it defines it a little bit better in background context personally, in 1.0.
Yeah, I think it needs to be included in definition because
Yeah.
it's mandatory and it's a pretty important document.
So your worship, sorry to interject, just want to add though, if we add a definition, this has to go back to the county, so we won't be making a June meeting.
Darn.
So just so we know.
Yeah, I think that.
Just so we know.
That's the first time an acronym appeared, but the full word, this is just clerical. I don't want to postpone this, just add under 3A, negotiate the terms of the new IDP and intermunicipal. ICF.
You could just fix it there,
It's
that's
clear.
fine.
Totally clerical. It's just standard English. It just needs an acronym. You always write it out full first. Then do that after. Yeah, that's not good.
Okay. Good. Everybody knows what my CF is.
Until they don't.
Totally don't. IDP. Heather,
That, sorry.
thank you. All right, so do we have a motion on the floor?
Reading.
Ready? Any further discussion?
I'll give you the first reading, the council give bylaw 2024-65 to amend bylaw 2024-62. The first reading.
Thank you. Any further comments? All in favor? Thank you. Good,
Council good bylaw 2024-65, second reading.
thank you. Anyone? Seeing none, all in favor? Hazel,
That council member was reading to present bylaw 2024-65 for third reading at this time.
thank you. Anyone? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. And the last one, Deputy Mayor.
That council give bylaw 2024-65 to amend bylaw 2024-62, third and final.
Thank you. Thank you for the smallest of variations in the red line version. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that's carried. All right, moving on, action items, Eau Claire Distillery proposal for additional office trailer. Mr. Davy.
Hey, your worship, I'll turn it over to Carrie if there's any questions.
No questions here. Want to just fly right to a,
Just give the
thank you.
one.
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get the motion and then you can ask questions. Okay. So option one,
Yeah, I had one question.
perfect. So we have motion, option one on the floor. Question, start off Cindy, then we'll go to Hazel.
So just curious how long this one, because the first off this trailer took like 9 months. So I'm just curious, how much better are we doing on timelines? Or there's second mission? Can I ask that?
Mhm.
Oh.
Great, I know that there is a timeline.
Oh, I guess it would be on the application.
When it was proposed.
March 16, 2025.
First, it was
So,
received,
so sorry, the question is,
I asked.
how long, okay.
It was May 21st when they submitted the application. So for us to be processing this in June. Oh, it was received May 1st. Yeah, that's when they signed it.
Yeah.
But.
Much better than 9 months like that.
Good job. I just want to say good job. to
We,
everyone.
we got the plans, I think, 2 days before it was due on agenda. So kudos to Judy.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say here. It is, you guys have really, you're doing good work. It really was, I think, 9 months the last time, so thank you. And I'm happy to give you option.
Excellent. And Hazel, comment?
Carrie, do you have to know what the plans are for the first temporary trailer? So it's supposed to come off and will it be removed in March of 2025?
The permit is valid until the due date on that permit. If they want to retain it, they'd have to apply for another permit.
Okay, because I understood that was just temporary because they were gonna build an office there.
I'm unaware of those discussions.
Okay, okay. And just of course, my question is, will letters be going out to the adjacent landowners about having that second trailer be moved on?
It is, yeah, it's a direct control district, so we typically wouldn't. An office in a predominantly commercial area is fairly benign.
Okay, that sounds fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, Municipal Planning Commission direction.
His worship, I'll turn this one over to Gary as well.
Hot seat, Carrie, hot seat. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
See you later.
So this item was brought to Municipal Planning Commission for a second time at their last meeting. A number of recommendations came forward from Municipal Planning Commission to council, including that the Municipal Planning Commission be dissolved and the option be provided to members to join a municipal development plan steering committee without having to reapply, that the land use bylaws for both former Turner Valley and former Black Diamond be amended following the dissolution of MPC to give the development officer 50% variance authority for all requirements, and that the subdivision authority be assigned to council following the dissolution of MPC until the MDP for both former Turner Valley and former Black Diamond can be amended to require area structure plans to be approved by council prior to any subdivision over 25 lots. I've put together some options. What I'm hoping to get from council this evening is a direction forward to avoid having to rewrite land use bylaw amendments several times.
Yes.
So if I could get some clarification that you direct administration to draft a bylaw for where the authority is going, what kind of authority, that would be fantastic. You are not bound by that. It will still come back as a land use bylaw, amending bylaw for first, then public hearing second and third. So if there are disagreements or changes after you contemplate for a while, those can be made, but I would like to get the gist of it again, so that we're not taking up staff time and creating potential confusion in the community of where am I going for what I need? And then the second part is that portion about the municipal development plan and area structure plans. And I think the intent that I got sitting in the meeting with Municipal Planning Commission, and John, Councillor Gordon and Councillor Holiday were there as well, is that we're again lacking that framework. And administration is struggling with some of these things because we don't know what the will of council is. And that is our job, is to administer the will of council. So my alternative recommendation is that administration look at lots over 6 acres or some number that you feel is appropriate that would be suitable for development. We shade those on a map. We put those amending the municipal development plans with a policy statement saying, according to attached Schedule D, whatever it is, the identified lands are subject to having an area structure plan in place before future redesignation and subdivision occur.
MPC members, would you like to add comments?
Yeah, I can give you context for the meeting.
Sure.
Just to be clear, so we had 2 members of our MPC resign the day of our last meeting. So we have 2 very stalwart members left. And then there was the 3 councilors, and there was definitely a division in council and the members at large, but this is a council decision. Just want to give that context. And for me, it came down to the comfort that if we can require area redevelopment plans, area structure plans for, developers, that really when it comes down to the details of subdivisions, I'm just thinking of the few that I've been on council for, we can leave, to me, I would be happy to leave subdivision and all planning to the planning department, professionals, and we really stay back up at the level of area structure plans, land redesignation, but the detail, like I'm thinking, the tennis court lands and the one beside, like we knew that was all going to be R1, Country Meadows, Phase 5, those types of subdivisions, they really don't require us when they've got plans, if they've got plans already. So it's just taking us up a level back to the land use planning stage and staying out of the actual nitty gritty of development applications that we get caught up. And, she laid out pretty perfectly. We get caught up in emotional things that don't actually have a strong planning backing. I'm guilty of it myself, so.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, I appreciate the input of the MPC, but, like I don't agree with the 50-50 split they were thinking in the subdivision authority. That subdivision authority be council. We want to move forward with speeding up. It's not slowing them down even further, which is getting council that far into the weeds when it comes to developments that already have stat plans in place, et cetera, is doing that. We should not be the authority for subdivision. We won't stop. So I'm very happy that moving forward with administration's option 1 recommendation. Thanks for all your work on this. I know it was probably a difficult meeting for council members that attended and staff that attended, and it's unfortunate that some MPC members chose to resign because of it. I don't know if it was because of it or they were just done, but I'm really happy about the with the committee and giving the authority to the person that needs the authority.
Thank you. Good comments. I know one of the members, Councilor Rabi, sent a very detailed email supporting the movement that we're speaking of. And the other one, I'm not sure if we received that letter, but this is a council decision at this point. It's been brought to us. We've been at this table. We have dealt with subdivisions. We have dealt with land use changes. We have dealt with land use bylaw amendments.
You dealt with a permit today.
A permit today.
Yeah.
So it is time that we start to grow in the right direction.
Yeah.
We have some great recommendations here, and I would fully entertain the option 1. I believe you already gave it. Did you not?
Yeah, I'm okay with option 1, but I do want to add that map on the change of the MDP as well. To make it very clear which areas need ASPs or however you talk about,
Yeah, yeah.
Part of the draft.
So, yeah, I don't know how to draft necessary bylaws. I don't know if you have to say specifically that MDP in there or anything, just now.
Through the chair, if you want it tracked as a specific motion, I would suggest putting it as a motion. If you just trust that I'm gonna bring it back, then I'm going to bring it back because it is, I think, advantageous to council, to administration, and to developers to all have an understanding of what the expectation is.
Well, yeah, it puts it on like big parcels, like recently annexed pieces that they now know they have to have an ASP first. Period. And so, can I add that as Article C? Maybe, or, yeah. Yeah. The MDP be updated to show which areas require, to show when an area, structure plan for an area would be required prior to subdivision.
I do have a comment from Lika first. Or you want to speak to it first?
If I may speak to it.
Yeah, please.
So the way that it's currently drafted, that the development officer will become the development authority. In terms of variances, what will happen is the variance authority that the development officer and MPC currently have under each bylaw that are different will, anything that was going to MPC for variance will now just go to the DO, but those variance authorities will still be different. Yes, percentages and items that are allowed to be, or regulations that are allowed to be variance.
That's it.
So if that's the intent, fantastic. If you want it to be changed at all, if you could provide the discussion and feedback to me at this point in time, that would be greatly appreciated. So under the. Gonna get my computer to think real quick. Under the Turner Valley Land Use Bylaw, for example, when I go to variance authority. And I'm gonna try not to talk it for you. For example, the development officer may allow a 10% up to a 10% variance for front yard setback, side yard setback, rear yard setback, building height. The Municipal Planning Commission apparently isn't in the same section. So again, at this point, if you want us to be able to vary more things, that would be great to know. If you're like, nope, we're happy with limiting that, that would also be totally within your purview. The paradigm that I worked in everything from, we make rules that are so broad that if you need a variance, you're doing something wrong, to there is no possible way that we can draft a perfect bylaw, so we're going to give you 100% variance under the guidance of the Municipal Government Act, which is that kind of condensed version of like, you shall not unduly affect the quiet use and enjoyment of your neighbor. So again, variances can be kind of one way or another in a very, very broad application. I'm trying very hard to find the MPC in here. I'm sorry. It's been super fun working under two bylaws concurrently, guys.
We're gonna make it into. Like this is the point where we say enough and we make it into one. Is it not though? Like, cause I really want to get to that point where we just say enough is enough and let's pull out of that. It's just so much easier if we just adopt what do you call it though? Too many different.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So so are you saying that you would, in some this 50% in other municipalities, it's 100%.
Yeah, so-
All variance power.
So, sorry, I just found it here. So any variances greater than the 10% on those 4 items that the DO in Turner Valley is allowed to decide on, they do go to NPC, and NPC on the Turner Valley side does have that unlimited variance under the MGA where it does not unduly affect the amenities of the neighborhood, materially interfere with the use. It's a prescribed use. It's not cause hardship. So at this point, if in Turner Valley, if it does get assigned to the development officer, all of the authority that was currently given to the NPC, the development officer on the Turner Valley side would have essentially a infinite variance power under that framework.
So the 50% is a moot point, because if you're taking over MBC and you're not doing that.
That's where I need the guidance. If I'm coming in with a land use bylaw amendment and you want to curtail a variance power, again, to a certain amount or to a certain item, that feedback at this point would be fantastic.
My personal opinion is I just want a list of report every quarter of what variances you gave to what properties. And the percentage of that, and just so if we had a urban planner come in a few years, we can see, oh, they're giving 100% variances to like 10 different properties every 3 months, we have a problem. Either with our planner or our land use bylaw. So to me, I just want reporting rather than sheds coming to council because they're at 75%, right?
I have 2 questions for you, 3 actually.
Okay, and if I can provide a comment of clarification to that, if it exceeded the variance authority of the development officer at that point, it would not come to council, it would just be a refusal.
Oh.
And then an appeal. Unless you put something in the bylaw stating that it would come to council.
So I'm gonna go to Heather, then I'm gonna go to Veronica, and then I'm gonna go to me.
I just. No more bylaw changes, if we could just move forward to include reporting versus a bylaw change, a bylaw amendment.
Okay. Comments? Veronica?
I think we're requesting guidance on area structure guidance. How many parcels in the town, besides the newly acquired annex ones, don't have an ASB?
For example, Everwood does not have an area structure plan.
Okay. I know Turner Valley has a lot of smaller parcels of potentially developable space. Black Diamonds or swamps, let's say. So Everwood is the only one on the Turner Valley side. I mean, I'm not, you wouldn't want an ASP for like a half acre.
No, there is another fairly large portion of land on the Turner side that had a proposal on it a number of years ago. I think it's like 194 units. So we would want that one listed as well.
Okay, and then are there any difficulties with the existing ASPs on Black Diamond side? And the limitations that maybe just age will.
I would say that all of our plans are facing aging problems. If I may be so blunt.
And so 6 acres was your recommendation, or is that a number you pulled out?
Just
as an example?
randomly.
All right, but you did want guidance, council guidance on that topic as well. I didn't dream that entire.
Okay. My only comment is there are things that you want any guidance on. Some people sat on NPC, some members have never sat on NPC, so they wouldn't actually understand what it is you're asking of them. So some of these things are very minute and some very grand. So if you would like some guidance, I would suggest that you, as we move forward, redline a few things that you think, oh, here's some things that I'd like to get some clarity from council on, X, Y, Z, list them off, redline them. And then through, Mr. Davy, have that conversation, bring it to council at a certain time. We'll have a cow on it. That'll get you your spot and then you're ready to go. So I think that's,
Each of us direction tonight.
well, what I'm saying is right now, we don't have all those questions that we want to get. Until we get the questions on. Here are a few things that I need your comments on. Understand?
Right, but it's a philosophical, how involved in planning does this council want to be?
I don't,
Yeah.
You don't want to be involved.
know.
All right.
So, your worship, I'll just simplify it. So if you
Yeah.
want, you can go within the confines of the MGA, because I understand if you want to have another discussion, this will slow this whole process down, which if council's intent is to do the reverse. I would say we would look to go just within the broad confines of the MGA, which would make you one of the most flexible local governments out there.
That's what we're looking for. That statement right there.
I
That
want,
satisfies my
I
intent.
want our efforts to be on hearing back from planning how it's going, on the reporting, on the transparency that way. Rather than,
I want to be in the details.
yeah, and us being focusing on higher level planning, because I think we have a lot of that to do moving forward with MVP, the LUB, other things that we could be spending our time on. Than sort of small pieces, like if somebody's got like even Everwood, they've got residential land and they're just doing, that's zoned. Like there's no designations, it is what it is, like straightforward stuff like that, we shouldn't be wasting our time on. Right?
So option one is the motion. Yeah,
Yeah, option one for me is
shall we vote?
it,
Let's vote.
okay.
All right.
Without putting any.
Well, if you go to the MDP, and then I would add another one, and a plan or information back on how you can report variances to council, like what a variance report could look like moving forward.
What kind of information will that be?
Your worship, if I may, we could include quarterly reporting as part of my.
Yeah, quarterly reporting is all we need.
Include numbers, so.
Hazel,
Answering Hazel's question there.
I want to get some clarity on Hazel's question. What was the question specifically?
What would be the point of having a report on this area?
Because it shows us either we have a planner that's like letting everyone do whatever they want and lots of crazy stuff happening, or it's showing us that we have a problem with the land use bylaw. Everyone needs a variance on secondary suites because of square footage is too restrictive, so we as a council need to change your land use bylaw to fix something. That's what reporting, because we care about the land use bylaw, we care about redesignations and ARPs and ASPs. We don't actually care about the individual applications.
Okay, so it's not like the variance, you're not gonna be like a report that the variance was given because they built a fence on town property.
Your worship, as part of the reporting, it would just be monthly, here's so many variances were issued, kind of thing.
Just very general.
Well, yeah, you might want to include like the topic, like side yard variance, like what section and land use bylaw was buried, I think would be all, that would be useful. Because if it keeps coming up as secondary suite, secondary suite, secondary suite as all your variances, then that would flag council's attention.
Okay.
In my professional experience, when there are things that come up consistently like that, administration flags it and brings it forward at our own volition and convenience, because it affects us just as much as it affects applicants, and we want to bring it to council's attention that, hey, in the administration of this bylaw, which is your bylaw, we think that this might need readdressing.
I would come back.
Yeah, if I may, to back up Councilor Holiday's request on that, we're going through the MDP creation first, and then we'll do the LUB after that. So I want to keep eyes on that variance piece so that we have, when we first write that LUB, we're not amending it 2 months later. So that's why I would support that report, keep all eyes on it. We could be going through a change in council direction, less than 18 months from now. So whatever we can have tracking that, giving us the right information to make sure that we have actually a document that is as efficient as possible. Whatever that looks like, I think that's a good idea.
So quarterly reporting.
Showing the
Little
variances.
Detail.
Yeah, because for instance, the one variance you've asked tonight, that for the Turner Valley side with secondary suites of 80%, that's been a run ongoing 14, 15 months. Almost seems every MPC had that recently, right? So having that in front of us, moving forward to make sure it's efficient from the start, whatever that looks like, I support.
Veronica?
Very, without MPC background, this information means next to nothing to us.
Potentially.
So if you're thinking of future council with no MPC background at all, potentially none of us are coming back, who knows? This information will have to be explained by planning to council.
But to that point as well, if I can further follow up, how many different planners have we had?
One. Our side.
Good point. There's been a lot of change. So I'm a huge fan of documentation. And it keeps the data, and data-driven decisions are the way to move forward. It's supported. So that's my opinion.
Okay, we're going into weeds, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, a counselor has to be familiar with land use bylaw though.
But they will be.
I'm not saying you're not familiar with the land use bylaw, I'm saying
The
a
mechanism for that piece.
collage of variances would make no difference to me. I'd be like, cool, you made some variances.
Yeah, but if it was just the
Without-
land use category,
Without the NPC background, I
right?
have no idea what you said.
Heather?
I think it will be sufficient for planning to give us the quarterly report as other departments do.
Yeah.
And if there's an issue with variances, they would bring that to our attention.
Thank you.
In closing debate. That is it. We have a motion for option 1. A and B were included,
You wanted to have C,
and you added, I said you did add.
did you get it or no?
I simplified it. I hope I got it right. To
Yeah.
update the MDP to clarify requirements for developers.
Yeah.
Land
It
use
should be an ARP requirements for developers.
And and to update council on quarterly updates for planning going forward.
Yeah, or already sending stuff to him.
Yeah, just how that variance reporting or
Development variant reporting.
you know.
Alrighty. You good, Brenna? All right, council, you understand the motion? A, B, and C? And I can have you read that back, Brenda, very quick. That's for the C.
Why did a D?
It should have been a D.
Yeah.
Okay. So option 1 with the addition of C to update the MVP to clarify land use and ASP requirements for developers, and D quarterly reporting to council, including variances.
Perfect. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. 9.3, 2024, it's 8:20. Do we want to have a quick 5-minute? Now and then go hard? Quick 5-minute break?
Your worship, if I may, these are,
Sure.
the final 3 are just action items.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a moment right there.
The council approved the terms and conditions of sale for 2024 public auction.
Excellent. Any discussions? None, all in favor? Got it. Councilor Gordon or Madam Holiday?
That council, to direct, and you think, so if council, provides or directs administration to apply for an extension for the submission of financial statements and financial information returns to the province till July 31st.
Excellent, thank you. Questions from Veronica and Heather.
No, I don't have a
Yeah.
question.
Veronica, it is.
That motion under the tax sale public auction.
That's not a good thought.
Oh, okay, because we actually would require 2 more motions for that. Option, which I prepared to give at the time, if Councilor Porter would like to table that motion.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, let us backtrack, that was my bad.
I'm prepared to give 2 more motions.
Yes, please.
The council approves the reserve bids for the 3 properties being offered at the 2024 public auction at $293,200 for roll number 38900, 326, $100 for roll number 500040, and $422,700 for roll number 1006230.
Very well. All in favor? That's good.
That council approve the addition of all tax recovery costs be applied to the relevant roll numbers pursuant to 553, bracket 1, bracket F, C of the MGA.
Excellent. And before I call a vote on that, have we reached out to all said landowners? Obviously, at this point, we've exercised all communication levels. If we could just have a quick speak to that, and then I'll go to the voting.
Yes, so obviously administration has reached out to them as well as tax service. I will say, I do believe there is one property owner that has not been reachable. So I know tax service is now working on that, but all due diligence has been followed to contact property owners.
Thank you very much. Any further comments, questions? All in favor? Thank you. See a few every year, right? All right, Deputy Mayor, may I move forward to 9.4?
That is the audit FSN.
Indeed it is. Then I shall, and Councilor Holiday, if you would.
Do you have the motion I made or?
Oh, no, you didn't make
Okay,
it.
the council directs administration to apply for an extension to the deadline for submitting the financial statements and financial information to the process. July 31st.
Thank you. And Mr. David, did you want a quick comment on it?
Your worship, yeah, the extra 30 days will prevent us from needing to do consultant overtime costs, so.
Sounds good. Excellent. I know it's a lot of work, and I know Vin's been working really hard on it, so appreciate all the work done this Vin, and Lisa and staff entirely. Okay. Good. All in favor? And that's good. And the community support grant, most beautiful art tour of Alberta project, MBTA. Heather's got her because she's a painter.
The council approved the sponsorship of the most beautiful art tour in Alberta Community Sport Grant request in the amount of $500.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Heather?
I know that this brings a lot of people.
That's
It's
beautiful.
quite pleasurable to see. We are a community of artisans, I'll tell you,
Mhm.
of all kinds. Filters, painters. Like, it's pretty awesome. So, yeah, this brings a lot of people into town. So I think it's a great one.
Very cool. Awesome. I totally agree. All in favor? Thank you. And I believe that concludes our business, ladies and gentlemen. We are adjourned.